all good people of the world, especially those of you who stands for justice wherever need be, all lovers of freedom all over the world, the good people of Africa, those who stands for truth, no matter who else is God. The good people of Nigeria, those of you who are occupying the space known today as Nigeria, the very area where people are forced together against their own very wish by foreigners who are alien to the way of life of our people they meet, just because it serves their expedience. I greet you all lovers of freedom, Biafrans, and all people who fight for justice in truth and in spirit in the cause, the IPOB family and fold, especially those of you in the Biafra Republic government in exile. My gratitude and recognition will not be complete, as it will be punny and history will not record it good for me if I fail to recognize those who have championed the cause of bettering the life of people in this part of the world. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu Oku, our supreme leader, Onyendu, we greet you alutali, we greet you fundamentally. Of the blessed memory, Chief Dim Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu, your role in pursuance of ultimate peace of the good people of Biafra will never be forgotten, not in a haste. Chief Ralph Wazirike, you played a very significant role, no matter where you stopped. And Mazi Simon Ekpa, now in the leadership of the Biafra Republic government in exile. With due respect to you all and sundry, the strong men and stand well comrades from the G.Os, not you, the very ones, not the very ones who have betrayed us, not the very ones who have tried everything to bastardize our effort and smear the image and integrity, the overall reputation of the body, thereby making us look so childish before the world and even the very oppressor we are running away from, we mean the aggressor, the Nigerian state. I greet you all wherever you are watching from today. Still coming your way is Akpan Asokwo, aka the Living Chukwumerije. Today's broadcast and address is going to be very complex, and the areas we are going to touch is very sensitive, and it requires that you all who are listening today should endeavor to share this video, reach it out to the generality of the people of the world who stand for justice, reach it out to the world government, reach it out to all the institutions of the world who comes to the aid of oppressed people, reach it out to every ear that itches to hear the plight of mankind, no matter where it is coming from, where it is stationed. Today, what we are going to touch is the very reason why the people from this part of the world have continued to decimate, why lives of innocent people, civilians, have continued to be targeted by a state and its other instruments of destruction. It must be brought to the public notice that from time immemorial, why we have the decimation of human population in this part of the world is because of the union of a people who did not match. But it is not going to come from this peripheral dimension which have been touched by everyone in the past who touched this sensitive issue. I am going to touch this issue from another dimension of it, which must be struck by the head. Just a few days ago, a man known as Iwuanyawu, who is purportedly referred to as the leader of Igbo, the president of Ohaneze. This is a union which used to be a very strong union representing the overall interest of the good people of the Igbo extraction of the first union of Nigerian states. This man, Iwuanyawu, today, with due respect to him, even though it is unfortunate that he is not a man who we should reckon with, given his personality. Iwuanyawu, on his address, was trying to raise concern about the unbecoming marginalization of the new dispensation, which kicked off immediately after the 2023 general election. Iwuanyawu, in a bid to address this, though with a very kid glove, tried to say that the Igbos have been responsible for the very status of economic robust when you measure among some poor African states that Nigeria enjoy today. The Igbos have been at the helm, the leaders of the economic status and commerce of Nigerian state. The Igbos have developed Nigeria, especially Lagos, where they are facing a heightened retribution and maltreatment, marginalization, bullying of all kinds, all courtesy of their declaration of their will in demonstration of their political rights over the 2023 just concluded selection called election. Iwuanyawu, while I am now coming bitter against him, is for those of you who listen to that very broadcast and address, you will see that Iwuanyawu was very clear and very, very cautious in hitting the nail on the head. He went as far as even denying himself of being an Igbo from his statement. It is just unfortunate that Nigerian political elites and their legal luminary or judicial counterparts, those at the judiciary, don't seem to have a good understanding of English language. So that could be the reason why Emmanuel didn't know he was actually excluding himself from the very race he said he is representing. Go and listen to that very video. Okay. Listen to him here.
I speak to you this morning as the President General of Ohaneze and worldwide. I speak to you as the leader of Igbo people in Nigeria. We believe in this country. We have worked very hard at all times towards the progress, towards the unity, towards the success of Nigeria in every field. Any honest Nigerian will agree that Igbos have played a major role in every aspect of life that has shaped the destiny of our great country, Nigeria. The development of a national capital is a challenge not only to those who are domiciled there, but it's a challenge to anybody who regards himself as a patriotic citizen of Nigeria. So when Lagos was accepted as capital of Nigeria, Igbos, most of them are dead today. Igbos came into Lagos They found some swampy lands. They bought the land. Igbos, when they came to Lagos, they never came there to take anybody's property. They came there, they saw empty, they bought the land. They converted swampy lands to habitable places. They built businesses, they built homes, they built schools, they developed Lagos. I have it on record that Igbos, wherever they went, they bought the land, they obeyed the laws, both local and federal, and they have been law-abiding. And in return, they were very highly respected by the natives. People in Lagos respected the Yorubas, respected Igbos. They built very solid and sound relationship with Igbos. Igbos lived in Lagos without any problem, in peace and in love. We were promised 3 R's: reconciliation, reconstruction, and rehabilitation. Some of you who are old enough like me, anybody here who is above 80, like I'm more than 80, will have experienced what happened then. Igbos in 1970, after the war, moved up again and invested massively in the north, invested massively in the west, invested massively in the east. There is hardly any local government today in Nigeria you don't see investment and economic activity, social activity, educational activity of Igbos. That is nowhere. The Igbos have invested in this place.
Okay, from this address you heard him clear trying to say that them, the Igbos. Did you hear him use that? And he was also very careful, very economical in stating what ordeal we are facing under the Nigerian state. Who said that our unity, our continuous stay together is not negotiable? Now tell me where it is in the world where people are forced into a marriage. Is that not a height of barbarism? That is not just what I'm about to touch today. There are a whole lot of blunders he made here. You know, when he was trying to point out the 3 R's. He wasn't, if you can remember when Soludo, before his election or emergence as governor of Anambra State, when he had a town hall meeting, he addressed clearly, squarely, why the Igbos have been treated with carelessness. Why the Igbos have been treated with disdain, as if they don't matter. After the war, after the deprivation, he refused to mention that the Igbos were robbed, that Igbos were denied of all their wealth in Nigerian banks. Their asset, that the Igbos were just given just £20. Of all they have, whatever it is you have, that they are just zeroed. They were just robbed of everything they owned. He was able to flimsily mention that some properties was collected in Lagos, and I don't want to. I was so bitter. I was so angry when I was listening to him. Igbos are not cowards. Emmanuel Iwuanyawu, you cannot be claiming to represent the whole of Igbo race. You cannot. Who told you? How do you become our legitimate? Legitimacy will come from the people. The people know their leader. Mazen Nnamdi Kanu Oku, Ohaneze, the prince. He's a crown prince. He is the leader of Ndi Igbo and the generality of Ndi Biafra. That is the Igbos and their brothers, their neighbors. Because he has a wider acceptance. That is why when you see Nnamdi Kanu stand out in any market in the whole of Biafra land, he causes traffic. unannounced. I mean, when he comes out unannounced. This is the same thing that cannot be done by any African leader, not even one. It is just the only one person that has something that looks like the popularity of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is Mr. Gregory Peter Obi, because he is an orator. He knows how to choose his words. That is why Peter Obi is getting that, because Peter Obi is building on the established awareness created by Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. So in the absence of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, Peter Obi was dutifully, I mean, he was used craftily, masterfully by the British state in trying to reduce the attention that was given to secession by the people of the southern Nigeria. Because there was a heightened wave. There was a very strong generating momentum, centripetal and centrifugal forces. That was why after the southern parts, and there was a heightened agitation from the west, the southwest, under the leadership of Sunday Igboho. That was why the British government advised Nigerian states, now go after these their leaders, get them, and these agitations will cease. But when they tried this, it didn't work as they planned. They now told the Nigerian states to take a more hawkish approach now. Now you can see, you didn't ask yourself, why is it that you see some British fellows and American fellows who were ab initio supporting Peter Obi? But so, in fact, the election didn't even finish. They were already rushing to congratulate Tinubu. We are not going there. That's not our focus. We are not trying to tell you that the things that Emmanuel Iwuanyawu neglected from discussing, he reneged from discussing. The same reasons, the same things that have been responsible for the overall loss of lives, for the overall issues everywhere, every note, every locality in Nigerian states today. The same reason why we are having all the activities in the northeast, in the northwest, in the southwest, in the south, in the southeast, in the north central especially. The same reason is that same reason he is not touching. He is not touching it because, not just because he don't want to touch it, because he is not touching it simply because he is being politically careful. His hands have been soiled. He has been, like his contemporaries, like his colleagues, both in Ohaneze and in the active politics. He is being careful because he don't want to stop benefiting from the filthy system. When you see him talk, the Igbos have been, you can see how he was being careful choosing his words. Chief Emmanuel Iwuanyawu, just like you have your pastors, you people have failed the people who you deceive that you represent. You cannot force yourself on a people. If you are Ohaneze president, and being Ohaneze president makes you think you are the leader of Ndi Igbo, sorry, I am sorry to disappoint you. Your Ohaneze is a gathering of elders who are shameless, a gathering of elders who refuse to understand that elders are meant for saying the truth without fear nor favor. Chief Emmanuel Iwuanyawu, like others, like other representatives across all the tribes of Nigerian states, across all the nations of Nigerian states that make up Nigeria, which claims to be a nation, he You people are disappointment to your generation. It is a very shameful thing that in your age, at your age, you say that you are 80. You are more than 80 now. I want to know, what are you afraid of again? Why is it that you cannot say, oh, now that I am close to my grave, let me amend my ways? And let me also tell you, you have a history of involvement with Otokoto. You have a history that does not allow you to represent our people as a leader. Nnamdi Kanu never come to impose himself on us any day. Nnamdi Kanu started fighting for freedom because he represents the real interest of the oppressed people. He began to generate momentum. Why are you chasing clouds? Now coming to the central reason why we are losing lives in this part of the world, and why it will never stop, rather it will keep worsening by the day. We are going to take a little longer time, and there will be some sort of intellectual excursion as we take to a memory lane, or to the memory lane dating back to early 1980s. Our political leaders, not leaders, rulers, because leaders understand the plight of their people. Leaders don't rob their people. It is unfortunate that all the people who now you see as your leaders today are not leaders in any way. Religious and political, they are not your leaders. Traditional, they are not your leaders. No, they are not your leaders. Go and find the definition of a leader. A leader knows when there is an itch on a leg of his a follower. I am going to make it very hot for those of you who like criticizing people who stand out for the truth. Please warm yourself up, because you have a lot of work of criticisms to do on me and my publication today. For those of you who know how to tighten your belts and rant on social media condemning everyone who finds his way to take the bold step in condemning and pointing out the evil and the reign of impunity in our society today. I am going to disappoint you, because I will give you more reasons to do your work. At least I think that will help to push this particular work to the world at large. We must be heard. We must be heard. Mazen Nnamdi Kanu represents the truth. He represents the interest of the whole oppressed people in Nigeria and in Africa at large. Across anywhere you see a black man. In 1980s in Nigeria here, a leader who is named or known as addressed as General then Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, who had his way into office of authority under the military regime via coup d'etat. He came to power 1985-83. In 1986, I think that was on 18th, no, can I be very clear with that very date? That should be around 18th of August. Registered Nigeria into Organization of Islamic Cooperation. This registration looked as if it didn't mean anything. And as time went on, this very thing that never meant anything kept Jimin to Pearl, beginning to gather negative influences. This, a lot of people who were hiding under a religion faith began to raise their ugly heads. Fortunately, General Ibrahim Baramosi Babangida was not a jihadist. He was a mere military leader who have aversion for power and money. He didn't give too much interest into unleashing terror unless for bullying those of his oppositions. Time kept passing. That seed that was sown, a man came up as a replacement after all history and story cut short. His name became General Sani Abacha, now of blessed memory. He had a different temperament and different view of life and was more a severe and ardent follower and of extremism leadership. Islamic despots. He started showing another view that meant that this seed that was sown a few years ago is really germinating. There was issues of Sharia enforcement here and there. I am giving you the origin of what you are facing today, why we are losing lives in hundreds in Nigeria today daily. Now this seed continue to germinate, continue to grow. It was around, I think that was around 2000, the year 2000. A group of people already acknowledged the fact that if they really show their heads, their swag in jihad demonstration, they will be recognized by Islamic leaders all over the world. They began to lead group of youths into unleashing terror. That was why you had the Kaduna riot 2000, the year 2000. The Kaduna riot, the year 2000, if you remember very vividly, this did not take less than 300 lives. Human beings. This is the one that press reported. Just immediately after the Kaduna riot, which was a Sharia law, then we had the Bauchi riot in the year 2001. This Obasanjo was trying everything possible to curtail. It was followed by another riot in the same year, Jos riot, 2001. Obasanjo was trying to see how he will manage this. It was unfortunate that he was made a president by the people that registered Nigeria into an Islamic statehood. So he was so powerless as at that time. He was given an article as a vice, which made even the work more tasking for him. In the year 2002, if you can remember the almighty Miss World riots, if you remember the man that was called one clergyman Reverend Joseph, I think Reverend Joseph Hayab. Remember, it was Obasanjo who was very helpless at this time because he was put in government. He was brought from prison and installed. The origin of godfatherism in Nigerian politics. He was installed by the same man and his lineage who registered Nigeria into Organization of Islamic States. And everything they did, Obasanjo neglected. He don't want to fight the powers that be. Remember, this Obasanjo was a senior colleague in the military to IBB. Now, Obasanjo, being the coward he was, we are still going. He was so cowardly that everything that he feels will affect the northern interest, he just carefully avoids them, including the census that his government carried out. He had to sell out the figure. He had to allow the manipulation of the figure. Reverend Joseph Hayab, there, when the man was even raising his hands to administer, to preach, it was already held there. Say no, this whole pageantry should be. These guys, extremists, took to the streets and were wreaking havoc. Human lives were going. Why? Because we have a forced unity. People who are entirely of opposing view of life in its entirety. They have different views that are totally separate from what is held by other people. They are forced together by people who are totally alien to the running, to the oppressions, to the daily life of a people they met. But they have to do this. They have to force you together so that it will be convenient for them to exploit you. I have a lot of things to touch here because this comes to why we are having the kind of representation we have in the southern Nigeria, especially in the Igbo origin, in the Igbo extraction, the Biafran part of Nigeria. Why you have the kind of people they call leaders today? It's dated back to the colonial era. A pre-colonial era even. Because when the white men came after the exploration by the Portuguese, when the British government took over from the then Royal Nigeria Company, the white men, when they came, Nwabeke came and told our people they want to have a representation. You remember, it was 3 attempts. Their first attempt, it was repelled because the Igbos had warriors. They went back, reinforced, came for second attempt. Now this time they loaded a gun, what do you call the gunpowders on the cannons. When they come to the Ugwacha axis, they now will, launch. When they came to the river, they later gave name Niger, which was a name intended to mock us. They now, you should be understanding this. I am not deviating because I remembered I just stopped at 2002, where the Miss World, even the organizer of the Miss World himself, the Miss World beauty pageant, the other representatives and leaders, they had to flee the country. They fled. They ran away because the riot was a very massive one. It was a very big riot. 2002. Again in the year 2000, and remember, these things kept taking lives. It kept taking human lives. People created by God kept going down for nothing, and the people who forced you together kept exploiting you. The more and the more you cry, you gnash your teeth, you go in agony, you go to sorrow. They are rejoicing because their pocket kept getting protruded. They have to establish underdogs here. The Comprado Bourgeoisie, who are you call your indigenous leaders. If you remember, in the Igbo land, why every of the things they did was successful, and why they had to they hold on to the North to administer for them on their behalf in Nigeria till today, because of the system they met. They met a system that was so very convenient for them to operate very smoothly without any. So they had to conveniently surrender the administration to the caliphate, because they were already using a kind of master-slave relationship. What do you call it? We said their system was such that the religious system is also in charge of the a political system that is a theocratic system in absolute of it. So it was very convenient that whatever the leaders say is A and Amen. Unlike what is obtained at the southern part of the country, which was in, let's say, a little reduced around the southwest region and totally absent in the southeast, or let's say the defunct eastern region, where there is no sole leader, because they have this acephalous republican and egalitarian view of life originally. They have, it is in the nature of the Igbo man to stand up for whatever they see is not right. That is why you say the elder in council, the chief in council. Then the white man now came to say, no, we are going to force you into accepting us. They went back, they reinforced after the second attempt. They now use this gun, face them. When maybe you see a collection of maybe 100 warriors will come, they use this gun, this gunpowder cannon, which was explosive. You can't be using your arrow and your cutlass and your knife and all of that little agrarian equipment to fight people who are with explosives. So when they focus the explosive, barrel at this population of warriors of Igbo extraction, they will consume them. So they now have to, when after this supposed turning from the white man, after they tempt our people with the superior firepower, they now ask our people to give them representation. No, our people was okay. How do we now represent? They now force our people to say, okay, give us people who represent you. Listen carefully. If for you to know why we have this Sopa bill and all these Sopa bill that are this saboteurs, all this, I don't know what to classify them as, who are calling themselves your leaders, the traditional, the political, and the religious. All these people who are representing you today, how the origin of all this is from this particular point I am now. When they asked these people to give them leaders, now these people, they were so afraid because there was no trust. They couldn't trust the white man. They couldn't trust the white man wholeheartedly. What they did is, okay, if we give you these people, we don't know if you will kill them. So don't worry, we will be smarter than you. Now, in a bid to be smarter, they went to release some of their cages, the prisons they had then. Because the kind of prison hitherto was it was kind of cage. It wasn't like human as these ones we're having. The approaches to punishment wasn't as human as we're having today. Today we are using human face. And the origin of Christianity also did something. The coming of Christianity, advent of Christianity reduced some of the extreme approaches to punishment in terms of correcting people who carry out actions that could be considered as aberration or violation, ultra violation, and abominable. Then it was either they abide and all of that, to Ajofia and all of that. Now they went to open their cage, their prison, and bring some of the hardened supposed criminals of that time. They bring them out and give to the white man to represent them, because they don't know if they want to kill their brothers. They don't want to lose more lives. They gave them their criminals. Now the Nwabeke said, okay, these are the ones, they're the ones that will represent you, no problem. Now they gave these criminals released from prison authority as warrant chiefs to preside or to intermediate or to mediate between them and the local people of the Igbo land. And that was how these hardened people came to be. The history of hardened-minded people who doesn't care, who don't understand what leadership and representation means in Igbo land. This is where it all started. Because this wasn't as the same as it was already, the practice in the north already was a despotic system of leadership. It was a tyrannic, it was a totalitarian approach already, where the leader says anything that comes out of his mouth becomes law. Nobody questions, nobody objects. Take it as it comes out. That is it. So, as this continued, the terror in 2003, that was a continuation of the what you call a continuation of the Islamic annihilation movement activities. The Sharia activity, violent activities continued, and at the end, it took 58 lives and left over 200 casualties of human beings like myself and you listening. The seed, the first union that we are still being too diplomatic about talking about it. We are still being too careful. We are being too choosy in our words. We are being too politically correct that we don't want to say anything that will offend the powers that be. As we keep being that careful, we keep losing our lives. I don't remember that in all of this, Christian leaders, supposed Christian leaders were dying. Remember that in all of this, if you remember, in each of these riots, I think the list was this 2003 that took about 58 lives. It had always been hundreds of people. And this ones we are talking of is what is documented by Nigerian dailies. These are the ones documented though, because the media have always been very careful with giving figures that doesn't incite fear. So if it happens 200 victims, they will target 70, 50. You understand it? So in 2008, I am coming home because I'm going somewhere. In 2008, the Boko Haram activities that started as a product of this seed that was sown by registration of Nigerian state into Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC. Now, this thing kept worsening as this different groups kept coming out, kept getting born and reborn from this seed of 1980s, mid-1980s. Now the Boko Haram activities escalated from 2008. If you remember, if you are asked, are these people agitators? Are these people aggrieved communities of Nigerian state? No. These are Islamic jihadists that started as just Sharia law riot executors. Just like that. Who is funding them? Who is funding these young men? These men that are causing terror and havoc. Wreaking havoc from one part. This, terror doesn't stop one place. It doesn't. The activities of the Boko Haram heated up so much so that there was a rampant attacks Every now and then you keep hearing activities that Igbos even had to leave the north. At a point they were warned, they were given a ultimatum to leave. So these activities reverberated beyond states. It reverberated beyond state borders and across, as 2.5 million people around along Chad, Lake Chad Basin are still displaced. About 2.5 million people. They are still displaced. And in all of this that I am mentioning and I'm enumerating here, our people who say they are representing us as Ohaneze, Ndibu, who say they are representing us as Yoruba elders, I am not going, let me even particularize it to Ohaneze, Ndibu, the Christian leaders. I am more annoyed over the Christian leaders and their approaches to others. You will have Per Ayo, he has been speaking of, but the Christian leaders, where is Adeboye in all of this? We will leave out all the young pastors who are doing abracadabra. Those ones that are referred to as Dady G.Os. What has been their place? Were they too young in 1980s that they don't know anything about this registration of Nigerian state? They don't know everything about, they don't know anything about the terror by the day, by the night that they're reading in the Bible, as it is manifested in their time. Because we are taking a religion from the perspective that we just base everything on the stories of thousands of years ago. In our day, it is happening to our very eyes, before our very eyes. Oyedepo, where are you in all of this? I am not, okay, I will include you. The man in Port Harcourt, David Iwuanyawu, what have you said in all of this? What do you call him? Olukoye. Olukoye, where are you? Deeper Life. Pakumi, where are you? What have been your own take? How have you scolded the government? The Christianity you are saying you are leading us in, is your silence Christian? Is it a part of Christian practice for things to be spoiling, and as a Christian leader you keep quiet? The people that you are taking their offering and taking their tithe, even when it is also another thing that is antichrist as a practice. It is antichrist, in case you don't know. All these ones they are telling you you are paying tithe, sowing your seed, doing this one. It is antichrist. There was tithe. Tithe was, it predates Christianity. This tithe predates Christianity. It came before the Christian practice. People have always communicated with God, worshipped God, interacted and related very well with God without Christianity. But Christianity came down to shape this relationship in another dimension, which does not go to say that when you are worshiping God in your own traditional way, as much as you are not taking evil, that you are an evil man. If you choose to follow on the way your fathers did it, as far as you are not taking, going into blood sacrifice and all of this, blood sacrifice of human life, because human life is so sacred. So all of these other practices that take human life, they are not part of what we are saying. But I am mentioning all of you. Fire, mountain of fire, Olukoye. The other man, what do you call him in Edo State? What do you call him? He's not evangelist. All of you, what are you doing? Is it coming to demonstrate and show clothes and fashion? What are you doing? How are you protecting these people you say you are leading? How are you protecting? What is your place? You are being political. You are playing politics. You are doing your business. You are supposed to protect these people. You are not telling them how they defend themselves. You are not supporting them to defend themselves. You are just collecting their money and channeling direct to your own private accounts. Is that part of the Christian practice? Is that part of all of you? You were listening to, you were following, you all lived, you watched, you were already elders while all these things were happening. I am a very younger person to all of you. But I lived and I knew all of this. I followed all this development. What about you that are claiming to lead these people? You have your securities, all of you. You have your securities. You go with your convoys, entourage. That means you understand and recognize human and equipment and protection. But you just tell your followers that they just wait for prayers. You give them prayers, you take their money, you take the money in form of tithe and offering, in seed of faith. All this you're telling them, are they practiced by the Christ we all worship? Are they practiced by Christ that you all follow? Is there any history? Can any of you show us where Jesus was collecting tithe, was collecting offering, was collecting seed? On the rivers, Jesus was always giving out, and he even said it. Even in the book of Matthew, he told you that these things you are doing, they doesn't matter, they are not of interest. Collecting tithe, he has not come. How many times all of you who are saying, let's even just leave the pastors, you now that want to defend the pastors that are coming to attack me now, where did you see in your Bible where Jesus that they are leading you to was collecting tithes? Did you not see only where Jesus was protecting and providing for his followers? Did you not see when Jesus left, when the Christianity started, where the early Christians was providing for the followers? Are you not reading? Why are you allowing them to deceive you? Whenever it is election, they will come. As I mentioned all of this history of Islamic jihad and activities of the terrorists, which are hiding under the auspices of Islamic cooperation and their activities of Sharia, in any of this, which one did you come out to fight and condemn? It is only for some of you. You say, is he a man of God? Hey, how many of these terrorists did you with your fire consume? That means you are not a man of God. Because you say, I hear you every now and then say, if I be a man of God, anyone sponsoring this terror, anyone involved in this terror, I saw you, I will say. You will always point to us the Bible where they say, don't touch my anointed, and you should not speak, don't judge, don't be judged. I will judge you because you say you are representing us.
That will not condone anybody. You will judge any fool who is in office and stealing money. They say don't judge anybody. So somebody can be a governor and steal people's salary and run away. Don't judge him as he's stealing your money. You come and say, oh God, but what are you doing? You say, oh, don't judge me, that you will not be judged. It's in the book. It's just like a pastor telling you about tithe. I'll touch not my anointing. You are a criminal fake pastor. They are coming to arrest you. Say, oh, touch not my anointing.
In the funding of the terror activities in Nigeria, how many times have you come to lambast the government? Because you're protecting your business. It is supposed to be Church of God, but it turns out to be your business establishment. You are running your business empires. You are running your establishment. I have come out this day to attack your evil activities squarely and on the point. I don't want to go into making up stories. No, You were there, you, all of you. You were there when, what do you call him? Muhammadu Buhari, he went to IMF to keep acquiring loans. He keep running around the world acquiring loans. Go to China, getting you indebted. We are concerned because we are already tired of this first union. You are not tired. Why would you be tired? You cannot be tired. Because you know that the continuous stay together gives you a wider population of people to target their pocket and exploit. That is why whenever it is election time, you will pretend to be supporting the man, one of the contestants who looks like people's opinion. When you know clearly that no matter how you try to push your pretense of support, it will never materialize to actual emergence of that person becoming a leader. That was why Paul Enenche and his colleagues were busy deceiving us. Bishop Kuka, you are not left out, but you are better than some of these people because you speak out, you speak up. But when you act like Okenyarwana, I will go and ask your Igbo friend what is Okenyarwana as you listen to this, Bishop Kuka. Because I cannot spare you either. Yes, I said it clearly, you are better than all of this other than the G.Os. All of this your colleagues, Kuka, I will leave you out in this part of this blame now. This your colleagues, all this that the G.Os, Sadeboye, Kumuyo, Lokoye, call them, what do you call him? The choosing man. I think he's one of the worst. Because what matters to them is they will give you, if how they will use giving prayers and giving you fake miracles, because I don't know why you will tell me you are protecting me, you give me apron to wear to get protection, and you are moving around with escorts very heavily armed. From which part of the Bible do you people speak from? If you now turn that the Old Testament, oh, I will teach you. From the Old Testament, you will say, oh, it is now Old Testament. From that Old Testament, the prophets we have were known for confronting the leaders of their time, the political leaders of the time, the rulers. They confront them even when they will have to go on exile. They will do it, but they know that they will do their own part. Elijah did it. I remember when Balaam was called upon to curse Israel, he came, he said, no, I will not do that, I will bless them. He started blessing them and cursing people that curses Israel, including the people that contracted him to do the work. But you, today, how will you speak up? Ebukobi said clearly to our hearing, he said, okay, I think you will have to hear Ebukobi. He is saying that why they will not, you should not expect them to condemn the politicians, that after all, it is the politicians that sow seed. It is the politicians that fund their church and their activities. Now tell me, what is more important? Did he not speak up the mind of all of you people who are claiming to be our leaders, as Christian leaders? He is more bold to say it, because if you expect him to attack them, who will fund him? That was why he had to campaign for Hope Uzodimma to continue decimating the population of the people he claimed to be representing. You watched Tinubu, Buhari, he went to get 2.2 billion US dollars. You watch him. You watch Tinubu, Nigerians were going very hungry in empty stomach. Tinubu went to remove 400 million US dollars from the national coffers without even the approval of the Senate, National Assembly. That was where we were even condemning that the Senate president of that Lawan, he was a boy senator. We never knew. No, Nigerians never knew they were going to have a real slave boy, errand boy Senate president, such as we have in Akpabio.
Thank you very much. I am here today confident that the National Assembly will continue to work closely with us to ensure that the deliberations.
You people have in Akpabio today. He assessed that money, it went like that, the story ended like that. He acquired 2.2 billion US dollars, I'm talking about, to supplement the budget of June of 2020, I think 23. This 2023 budget, he was already leaving office, so that was on January. After that same acquirement of loan, he still acquired more loans. 2.2 billion naira, that was on 31st January. It was very few days for him to leave office. I am not leaving out. You people, you did not ask, you the religious leader, why other people, activists were asking, oh, we didn't see what you do, you use this money, you use it for frivolities, how this money, people were raising alarm. You religious leaders, none of you rose alarm. None of you. It was civil organizations who were trying to do their own bidding. They tried their best. In 2022, this man went to collect 4.6 I think trillion naira. And when he acquired this loan, he gets even from this particular one now, that it was even from a Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. That is why you see this man today, MFLA, people are trying to patronize him, trying to sympathize with him. This one is our brother, this one. How are you going to be condoning a criminal? Because he's from your part. That is why we say this diversity is too dangerous for us to continue living in this. It is too dangerous for a state that must succeed. This diversity is too dangerous for us. And you religious teachers, you cannot speak up. Why your colleague there, the Islamic leader Gumi, is there protecting terrorists and speaking for them, being the advocate he came out to declare? None of you ever opened up to challenge him, to condemn it. None of you. Still in 2023, by 2023, Nigeria already, under Buhari, already acquired 80 trillion naira. In the name of subsidy loan, he got more 800 million US dollars. None of you, it was not a reason for you to raise alarm. You were watching. It doesn't concern you. After all, if the poor masses, after they suffer, they will still bring the tithe and offering for you. You felt you lost more businesses during the COVID. Your only concern was that in the COVID, they should just call off this COVID. It's not that it is a scam. It is just that they should call it off so that you continue with your business, church business. 19 days to Buhari's tenure expiration, he was acquiring more loans. You did not talk. It was not a matter of concern of any kind to you. How will it be of concern to you? It can never be. Tinubu was just few, how many months in office? He was just all over, getting scampering for loan here and there. You did not bother. Tinubu was just, how many months was he in office when he went for 8.6 billion US dollars? You people are disappointment. You have a very big disappointment. On July, it was 800 million from the World Bank. This September, he was barely 5 months in office. He was already going for 1.9 billion US dollars. I am not living, in fact, we will finish this thing squarely. This issue of his loan is just to buttress a point. We are only concerned in the kind of suffering we are faced and why. The kind of decimation of our population, the killings, the origin of these killings. You are not concerned. Your masses are dying. You are not concerned. You are being politically careful. You don't want to say anything that will offend the people that sponsor, that bring the biggest tithe and biggest offering. If they finish all your members, it doesn't matter. What matters is the account is still getting fat. The Jesus Christ that you people are preaching to the world, preaching to the ordinary, the woman selling Gary, preaching to us, he didn't have all the private jet. He will say in his time it was horse. He told you himself, he said, the Son of Man has no ass. Even the ass was the smallest of the horse, the little one. He didn't have even camel. He said even the bird of the air have their nest where they sleep when it's night. But him, he doesn't have. Because he knows that he will not lack. He will see what to eat. But acquiring wealth like you people. So now tell me, you will be the judge yourself here now. Are you really representatives of Christ? Or are you representative of Mammon? Are you an antichrist evangelist? What you are preaching, does it synchronize with what you are practicing? Unless to the extent that you preach tithe. The tithe you are preaching to this unsuspecting populace. Is this tithe a practice of Christ? Why is it that you will tag a lot of the things in the scripture as Old Testament and you are in the era of grace? When it happens, when there is a discourse of money, you will go to Old Testament and recontract the Old Testament and make it an instrument of work. When this Old Testament doesn't support your activities, you target an Old Testament. The tithe you are collecting, is it a practice of Christ? I am asking you. The tithe you are collecting, is it a Christian practice? Christianity that you are telling the world, is it not simply a life patterned after Christ? Then why are you living a life that is not patterned after Christ? Are you collecting offering because Jesus was collecting offering? Where did he collect offering? Did Jesus ever tell anybody to sow seed? Did you ever hear Jesus telling anybody to sow seed of faith so that this one will not happen? Was this not all Abrahamic practices? Was this not in the Melchizedek era? Was all of these things not in the Old Testament, in the old era, where there were no yet transfiguration? The point of the study of the scripture, the era, the time that closed the era of demanding who intercede for man, and when man now have direct access to God. Was that not when you talk tithe? The tithe, even when it was talked about then, was it the way you are collecting it today? That time was this tithe not divided according to, it was divided accordingly. The one for the widows, the one for the helpless, the one for the, and these ones were strictly to be with with animal or farm products. If you must go with money to a distant land, it must be going to a distant land, and when you go to distant land, you repurchase livestock or farm products. So why are you telling and deceiving the people with tithe? Are you not angels of Lucifer? Why are you being so evil and hardened-hearted? You, I am asking you. When you hear that Buhari was using the money that was meant to give a better life to Nigerian people, and he was rather using it to advance their membership to Islamic organization, Islamic corporation, by trying to reach out. Even when workers, there was no money, purportedly stated clearly by the government of Buhari, there was no money to pay even workers' salary. That ASU went on months upon months of strikes because there was no money to service them. Now, loans were acquired. Loans were acquired from World Bank, from China, from wherever, and this money are diverted to Islamic activities, you were not crying, because you know they will give you your own share by offering. My friend, listen, because I have to talk to you. Don't preach to me about touch not my anointed here. I am the anointed in this part because I am liberating the people. The Christian faith is a sincere practice, but it is none taken advantage of by you simphorous people occupying the pulpit. You, our people, must wake up and end this contraption. The people you are looking up to will never save you. They knew that when you are facing aggressor, you have to protect yourself. They know you don't have enough resources to protect yourself. They already gathered your resources in the name of church. Now you are in need of protection. They can't give you. They already have their own securities. They can't go to their pocket, the church pocket, and bring money to buy. The Jesus they are preaching to you. When Peter brought out his sword to attack Jesus' attacker, Jesus did not tell him to throw away the sword. He said, put back this sword into the shed, because you will need it. When time comes when you are confronted by enemies, you will use the sword to protect yourself. When the time of prayer comes, you use prayers. Jesus told them when they were going on the missionary journey, first missionary journey, he told them to get sword. He said, in case you don't have one, because when the time comes for confrontation, you will not use Holy Ghost fire. For when somebody is pointing a dagger at you, you need to bring out your own sword to defend yourself. At that point, you don't need to say rakata kata kata kata, oh papa papa. But somebody is deceiving you, is giving you apron to defend yourself when he is having heavily armed security men following him. And you are not waking up. Somebody is not concerned. When they bring money, they want to get billions of dollars from loan. This billion of dollars, they use it for gratification, for their Islamic activities. They use it, when they use this thing to fund and sponsor terror and jihad activities. These people are not raising voice. They will be busy there prophesying on pulpit. If I be a man of God, and all of that, how has it stopped this? How has it stopped the killing of Deborah? How has it stopped the wreaking of havoc in Benue State? How has it stopped with the Islamic jihad activities in the Kwara State? In what do you call it? In Jos. All this terror going here and there, everywhere, persecution against Christians. How have they come to defend them? How have they come to defend the people they are stealing from? The money that the taxpayers own, because if you even acquire loan, it is still the taxpayers' money. These men go to acquire loan. Buhari went to get more loans, more and more loan on passing months. He used it to build rail to his jihadist brothers in Niger. Railroads, when you don't have even one road there in your village in Omaya, you don't have anyone there in Anambra, you are claiming Obi Kubana people. You don't have anyone there in Imo State. You are having somebody there. What they know is to place a Supreme Court puppet who will do their bidding of unleashing of terror. They don't know that you need protection, that you need something to protect yourself. When this man was busy buying SUV cars for people in Niger, he went to get loan. He was buying, so none of these men talk. You say don't talk about them, don't talk about them. I should talk about you. No, I should stop talking about them and talk about you. The donations to Turkey, was it not from the money he acquired loan in what was that month? He acquired loan and just redirected this loan. That was about 1.4 billion US dollars. About 1.4 million US dollars. He gave to Turkey during this Turkey earthquake. Was he richer than the other states of the world that they don't give? Because they have been collaborating with Turkey in unleashing in these jihadist activities. If you remember, it has been reported by Amnesty and some other non-governmental agencies that Turkey is funding the terror in Nigeria. The Turkey president now, Erdogan, now declared it. Erdogan was very straight in declaring this time. And he said, if you remember listen to Erdogan, in fact, let me not even, listen to what Erdogan said here.
Örgüt olabilirsin. Çünkü bu Batı'nın sana borcu çok. Ama Türkiye'nin sana borcu yok. Ve Hamas bir terör örgütü değil, topraklarını ve vatandaşlarını koruma mücadelesi veren, evet, bir kurtuluş ve bir mücahitler grubu. Ben hayatımda bir kere bu Netanyahu denilen adamın elini sıktım. İyi niyetimiz vardı ama iyi niyetimizi suistimal etti. İsrail'e gitme projemiz vardı, iptal, gitmeyeceğiz.
So, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, he said that Hamas is not a terrorist organization, just like Hezbollah are not. So, that those people who are saying that Israel should stop pouncing the terror unleashers, the terrorists, that they should stop saying that these people are not terrorists, so they are actually Hamas. I have a different program about this in Israel thing, so let me not even digress. Like, I don't want to deviate, I don't want to use anything to distract this discussion today. Now the donation to Turkey and the donation of SUV cars from your Nigerian taxpayers' money, and for the funding from of railroad of almost 2 billion US dollars. It was about 1.9 million plus projects. When we can't even boast of any tangible project in the whole of Nigeria. Second Niger bridge that was started since by Jonathan, that it was done 75%. For the 8 years of his stay in office, he didn't complete that job. See, today that even they told you they already launched that project, the commission project. Nothing. How much is it? How much is it? I am asking you. Eh? Since the Deborah Joseph, this Deborah Joseph of a girl that was lynched, what did any of these your Islamic Christian leaders do? Apart from Chibozo from Abia State, who came out and to do what he's used to. All these your daddy G.Os, they don't even want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it. The same way P2B did not talk about it, only Atiku who used it to achieve political gain and at a point still retrieve the information. What all the while that the terrorists have been rewarded in Nigeria, have you heard any of these people? Have you heard them? The jihadist activities, all this you heard about Abba Kyari and his activities using the police uniform. There is no party did not come from druggery, from extrajudicial killings, all kind of things. He was contracted by politicians to do dirty jobs. All these things, none of your pastors condemn it. None of your pastors condemn it. Kabiru, the declared renowned terrorist, he was to banned, and the Nigerian government was watching him. Nothing. Today we are talking about the person that is declared wanted by different states of the world, including India, from where he hails. I mean, Zakir Naik. He just came into Nigeria and he called Nigerian Air Force Islamic Air Force. These people are not talking. It's not a thing of concern. It doesn't matter. It doesn't concern them. Their accounts are getting more fat by the day, so it's not their business. You are seeing the origin of the whole terror. Your money, your taxpayers' money are used. When they use coercion, they use force to assert themselves in position of authority. They use the guides of Islamic faith to keep placing themselves in positions of authority and unleashing mayhem. Like you are seeing today again. The preacher, in fact, if I tell you, do you know that a redeemed preacher, pastor, female lady was killed in the street of Abuja? It was treated with so much levity by Christian Association of Nigeria. Nothing significant was done till today. This young girl that was lynched, a woman started campaigning because she have waited to see how these people that were involved, the culprits, would be persecuted. None of them were persecuted. None of them was prosecuted. Rather, the woman that rose this concern and shared the picture is in Islamic court as we speak. She is facing prosecution. She's persecuted as we speak. Your pastors, your daddy G.Os are still deaf to this, so they are not sharing any of this, so and till today, you still want us to not touch the anointed. Who told you that they are anointed? So Ray just carried out a speech today. He murdered it.
Worst human rights violation period in recent history, of which even Amnesty International was a victim, where people were assembled in front of their office and threatened to burn down Amnesty International office. That particular era was promoted by the government. I can tell you that categorically. Not even in Palestine today do you see an attack on Amnesty International office, even though they might have things to say against Israel. But I want to also use this opportunity to focus on something very controversial, because especially within Nigeria, is the rise of persecution on the basis of religion in Nigeria, which is now very common across Nigeria. I don't want to say northern Nigeria, because recently there was a fellow who was arrested in Ibadan and taken to Kwara State. His name is Tani Olong, because he expressed opinions that were not popular with the religious chieftains there, and he spent over 180 days in detention. He was just recently released. They were filing one case or the other against him using kangaroo courts, what they call upper area courts, to prosecute federal crimes. And this, they call it cyber bullying. Some of them said it's defamation, cyber crime, all kinds of things. Today, one of the trending issues is a woman known as Rhoda Jato, who also is now in Bauchi prison, being prosecuted, I would say persecuted, for sharing a video condemning the killing of Deborah Samuel. It is unconscionable that the people who murdered Deborah Samuel are walking free, and a woman who merely shared a video of people condemning her unjust murder is in prison, a murder. It is a human rights issue that must not be ignored, and Amnesty must also take a position on this. The last one is the continued detention of Nnamdi Kanu. I think Amnesty should also take a major position on it, because there is a particular international criminality involved, which is extraordinary rendition of president. He was abducted in Kenya, put on a plane to be in Nigeria without legal representation, and it's unacceptable. And I say this because we are here fighting for Palestinians. There are some of us that are still fighting for Öcalan in Turkey. It's also a self-determination question. Why can't we be very clear about the injustice done to Nnamdi Kanu? Is it because he's touching on a topic that all of us are comfortable with, which is the unity of Nigeria? But I think when it comes to amnesty, there should not be boundaries over fundamental.
He held a press briefing in Amnesty International conference. He was on exact. He was on the spot. The Christian Association, the Christian leaders, they are not followers of Christ at all. So if you had followed me from memory lane here, from this intellectual excursion and discourse, you can see that we have got to separate, we have got to dissolve this union. Because in as much as we remain in this union, you continue to do election. If you heard Dino Melaye last week crying out, I said, oh, Dino, so a day like this will ever come? So INEC is no more worthy, and it was the same. You know, when you are profiting today, you don't know there will be tomorrow. To be forewarned is to be forearmed. Tinubu is in place now. You can see him. They moved to Dubai with 1,411 delegates. Each of them is spending not less than 15 million naira on this mission. Because you know the kind of that is a salary of so many people, so many professors. Each of them, what they are spending, will pay will pay 10 professors. Each of them, almost for 7 months, for a year, each of them. Very inconsequential trips, inconsequential expenditure. These are part of the things that P2B used to gather crowd. He understands all these things, but he himself is not free of all this. So I am now telling you today to join us in call for the dissolution of this union. This forced marriage is the very reason why we keep suffering till this date. This forced marriage has been very unhelpful to us. The products of this forced marriage is terror. It has given birth to all manner of inhuman and terror activities. Why are you still waiting? What are you still waiting for? To join us in this crusade to stop this very evil, this very sinful and uninhabitable human society imposed on us by people who are totally alien to our practice and our way of life. You can see how it has built and surrendered us to an organization of Islamic State where people are forced on things that doesn't please to their heart. IBB was called upon to defend, was accused by individual entities and powers. IBB said straight, and I will close this very broadcast with IBB's statement. IBB was very clear. He said, as gathered by the Whistler for conscience and society, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, former, popularly referred to as IBB, in response to the inquisition and accusations from Nigerian public and human rights societies, IBB responded, why I made Nigeria a member of Islamic organization. The Nigerian former head of state, Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida IBB, has denied having plans to Islamize Nigeria when he enrolled the country as a member of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. The former military head leader who recently clocked 80 made the clarification during an interview on Channels Television. The organization, the OIC, consists of 50 member countries like Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, and Nigeria became its member in 1986 under IBB's watch. The OIC models the collective voice of Muslims as well as protect the interests of Muslims world over. IBB's registration of Nigeria as a member of the OIC had at different times sparked criticisms from individuals and groups who argued that the move contravened provisions of the Nigerian 1999 Constitution. But the retired Army General said, "No government," I am quoting, "no government has ever said so, that Nigeria is an Islamic state, including my own very government." He explained that we never said Islamic or Islam is the official language of Nigeria, but our constitution allows us to enter any organization for the benefit of the country or for the benefit of the people of the country. IBB's quote, I close. Quotation close. Nigeria's membership of the Islamic organization had since resulted in several criticisms from religious groups and civil society organizations. Some groups have accused the former head of state of engineering a religious crisis in the country by that singular act. Now they said, in their words, the relationship between Christians and Muslims deteriorated when Nigeria was admitted as a full member of Organization of the Islamic Conference, said Dr. Mariam Abdullahi, a delegate representing civil society organization at the 2014 National Conference under Jonathan administration. Religious conflict in Nigeria, however, has become a very threat to national security. I am out of this. Now, my good people of good conscience, all well-meaning people, original inhabitants of this area that is today called Nigeria, are you not seeing what we are seeing? Have you not seen that why you continue to have elections manipulated against the people's wish is to continue to have the way? Why we continue to have these fraudulent selections they call elections, and why the world powers, the British government, America and their cohorts, colleagues, partners in this crime against humanity has been all that of silence. Their approaches have been that of silence, while those of them from Nigeria who are part of this whole evil have continued to manipulate the electoral process, the electoral institution, and have always made sure that instead of the will of the people will prevail, there should continue to be spillage of blood. And that is why you can only have people who have nothing related to having the mind or the interest of the people at heart are always forced on you, because they are always trying to project their despotic interest. That is why you have always continued to have every attempt from different generations, from different eras, attempts upon attempts to have this Muslim ticket, which have finally materialized today. Today you have people who go in over 1,000 to an Asian state for a conference or for a meeting, all You were deceived that they were going to Dubai for a program. It happened that it was just less than 15 of these ones that were not part of the original mission to that UAE. The rest were there to advance the Islamic cause and agenda. The man who goes to power, the people who you see is going to the position of authority themselves might not be necessarily involved in the whole game plan. But those who machinate them into the positions due to they are too desperate for political powers, for political offices, they accept to anything this group of power makers, the power brokers and kingmakers will. They always oblige and surrender to whatever be the will of the kingmakers, in as much as or provided they will have their way and remain in office. Therefore, my people, if you are still not seeing what we are seeing, sorry for you. The advancement of terror, the advancement of Islamization cause is gaining higher momentum. It is on the finishing touch. The monies that are always unaccounted for, that are pulled from the national treasury, from the national coffers, from some CBN governors, like was done in that era of the former Kanu Emir, Sanusi Lamido, who was pulling money from the national coffers, from the World Central Bank, to sponsor this Islamization agenda. And the government of Muhammadu Buhari, which almost finalized the whole thing, and now the Islam or Muslim ticket is crowning it. Once Tinubu finally is removed, because it is in the upper plans, once Tinubu finally is removed from that office, you are warned. Once they finally seal it, once it will be totally sealed, once Tinubu is removed from office. Once Tinubu is removed from office, I am singing it like a song. Once Tinubu is finally removed from office, that is why you must mount pressure on those you call your religious leaders, the Christian leaders, to rally round and bring you resources so that you prepare for safety, for protections. Whatever equipment that is needed to have you safe, you need to make sure you force them that are collecting your tithes and offering, because the government have more money to fund anything they want. But if the church, who have collected too much from you, can bring out resources and support you to prepare for the unknown which must come, it is better you listen and walk in accordance to our privileged information. Thank you. Remain blessed.